Bobby Worthy, we just got out of the courtroom and we came down here to Huddle House. We're gonna go back in front of the, let's go back in front of the courtroom and we'll do a little recording. But before we go back, could you explain to the people if you notified the local news media about this case and were they there?
Yes, I notified all, as I did you. I sent a press release about this major event. It was not an attack. It was not my court date. It was a case to defend our right to First Amendment right under the Constitution. I notified Jacksonville News, Action Jacksonville News, all three news medias in Jacksonville. I notified all the black newspapers in Jacksonville, the Florida Times Union, the Georgia Times Union, the Wake Coast Journal Herald, CNN, and the other one, Fox News, and numerous other media, local medias that should have been there. But I actually talked to Action News 4, Jack's reporter. They let me know they had got it. I assumed they was coming because this was an attack on on our rights, not just mine, but our rights to the First Amendment.
So, this particular case didn't just deal with you; it dealt with directly the Constitution of the United States, right?
Yes.
Okay. The judge, I sat there in the courtroom and I watched him talk about you, and he put restrictions on you, but he didn't put any restrictions on the police officer. How did that work?
Well, yeah, actually, he just said me stay away from it. But actually, if you read the order, it does mention both of us to stay away from each other. It does say that we indirectly or directly, that both of us need to stay away from each other. So that order does go both ways. Okay.
Okay. Again, you say you notified the Waycross General Herald. You notified them.
Yes, I sent them a press release as I did you.
Okay, because you're a controversial figure in the community, did they show up?
None.
Okay, lastly, before we go back to the courtroom, because I thought about it, and I do think we need to do a video. So we're going to go back down there, and we get in front of the court down there, and I'm going to ask you some more questions. But what about as we were discussing it with that reverend from out of town, I can't think of where he's from, he mentioned, and do you have something about the case he was talking with the ACLU along the lines of judges having immunity? What was that all about as he was discussing?
But that was Dr. Leonard Smalls, which owns a gospel radio station out of Jessup. He actually he has a gospel station in Jessup and Statesboro, and I think he actually stays in Savannah. Okay. He's with I forgot the name of the organization. It slips my mind right now, but his name is Dr. Leonard Smalls. He's an activist, a community activist, a friend, and a powerful man that's always been there when someone needs him to call him. He's a good friend, like I said. But the ACLU is currently now working on litigating a case. They filed a case to stop immunity, that judges and public officials claim immunity, 11th Amendment immunity, sovereign immunity, when they violate your rights. And this is the biggest issue with public officials, is why they seem to think they can get away with it, and do get away with it, because they have no repercussion. They have no kind of punishment. So, okay, if I go violate this man's right, they ain't gonna do nothing. We can't be sued. We can't be locked up. We're not doing anything. And what they're still not understanding, according to the U.S. Title 18, Section 241, it says when one or more persons come together to deprive you of a right that's secured by the United States Constitution is a federal offense that carries 10 years imprisonment. There should be a lot of public officials, as this judge today, in prison.
Okay. Let us go down to the courtroom and let's do what we do, because I just having second thoughts that we were sitting there. We had a group of people to come over to Huddle House, and we took up 2 tables, so it was nice. And now let's go back and let's cut some videos and let's give it to the people, because the people got a right to know. I can't sit on this case. Thank you very much.
Greetings. This is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines, and I was called to
Waycross, Georgia. Ware County, right? In Ware County, I'm standing in front of Ware County Magistrate Court, courtroom entrance, 310 Albany Avenue, Waycross, Georgia. I came over here because a community activist by the name of Bobby Worthy. Bobby Worthy and myself have not always seen eye to eye and probably won't see eye to eye tomorrow on some issues. But there's one thing about it, and that is when you come down to the First Amendment rights, I unlike other newspapers and television stations, when our freedoms or freedom of the press is violated or tried to be stifled or just totally ignored even by local superior court judges, state judges, or federal judges, then I have to be there because, as you know, I'm under a criminal trespass and I violated no law. And so we know now that there is a asserted effort, even by judges, to shut up the press. Now this judge, whatever his name is, he was willing at least to acknowledge that we have a right to be the watchdog over our elected officials. And from being in the courtroom this morning in Ware County, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish to God that this individual would have let me know ahead of time so I could have been in the courtroom with the camera, because today CNN, today MSNBC, today 60 Minutes, 48 Hours and others is a perfect example of why we cannot sit back and see our First Amendment rights be stepped upon, crumpled upon, and totally did away with, and we don't say nothing about it, because today is me. Tomorrow, it's gonna be you. So don't just think this happened to me and Bobby Worthy, because sooner or later, this same thing gonna be knocking at your door. Then what are you going to do? Once again, the Ghetto Free Press, I'm gonna have Bobby Worthy to come round in a minute, and we're going to interview him, let him tell his story, because we do know that Georgia is one of the worst states in the United States of America when it comes down to justice under these judicial systems. I'm going to let Bobby Worthy, I got the name here, but I want Bobby Worthy to call his judge name. But we was in the courtroom, and we want you to know the rest of the story. To me, the local newspaper, television stations, and radio should have been here, because today is me, Bobby Worthy, but tomorrow it gonna be you. And what gonna happen when all the press are gone? Peace, Ben.
Greetings.
This is Bobby Worthy, the president of Justice League United, and you know I've had my problem with Bobby Worthy, but I also have had my ends with this brother. And I know that a lot of Negroes, black preachers, and others are afraid to take on some of the issues that he's taken on over the years. He was in Quitman with the 14-year-old girl that was hog-tied, hand behind his back, and he fought as much as he could up to a point. Later we found out that there was disagreement between the mother and him. And I published the truth concerning that, and I'm going to continue to publish the truth. But today, truth knocked in Ware County, and I am here with a soldier, a freedom fighter, a man who takes on some issues that others won't even dream about in their dreams, or they will be living in a nightmare and probably die from a heart attack. What's your name, my brother?
Bobby Worthy.
Bobby Worthy, you called me, but I didn't get my paperwork in early. I was in the courtroom this morning, and I just want you to tell us, I'm gonna ask you some questions behind the camera, but I want you to first talk about what happened on Facebook, and we got all the time in the world, because whether CNN, MSNBC want to address the people whose First Amendment rights are being stepped on, we don't want to ignore it. And I have no intent. I don't give a damn if CNN and MSNBC don't say a damn thing about what's going on. But we going to do it in social media, or this country will fall as ancient Rome. Tell us what happened on Facebook and then lead us up to today.
Well, what had happened was I had a local, one of the Waycross police officers shopping in the grocery store in uniform and squad.
He said you can give a name.
FURRINDA with the Waycross Police Department was shopping in the grocery store while in a squad car, while in uniform. Was shopping in the grocery store while in a squad car, while in uniform. I posted it on Facebook, basically, and didn't even mention the name in the Facebook post. I took a picture out of respect from the back, her being black. Just to show that once a police officer violates one small law, it's just like a thief. A thief is going to steal something small, and eventually he's going to start stealing bigger than stuff. Just like a crackhead. He's going to get a high until he gets something more higher to get high off. And so I posted on social media. She says she felt threatened. I had no gun. She's in full uniform, squad car, all her weapons on her. Probably had an extra weapon on her, and basically she said to court today that she was in fear of her life. She was very scared of me. Thus, she went and took out a warrant for communicating harassment. That's not communicating harassment. I broke down the law in the court today for communicating harassment.
Excuse me. She said she was scared for her life. Do you have a record of injuring or hurting anybody?
None. No record whatsoever. She basically said she felt threatened. When I posted on Facebook about her, the judge ruled. The judge basically, I laid down the law about. Basically, she said today that she was off duty. The judge said that he believes that she has a privacy right to privacy. I explained to the judge why she's in uniform and why she's in that city uniform or in that squad car, which taxpayers' dollars pays for. She has no private duty. Today, the judge made history, and he threw out the Constitution, the First Amendment right to free speech, freedom of expression, and freedom of the press. He basically said that she has a private right. She has a private duty. She has a right to privacy in a public vehicle, in her uniform, a city uniform in a city vehicle that taxpayers' dollars for. He basically laid it down, and I will be going in here and getting a copy of the audio, that he laid it down that she has a private duty. So now Waycross Police Department is going to take it to a new level, because now he just proved that she has a private duty in the squad car. When a local magistrate judge tries to overrule the Supreme Court ruling, then we have two entities contradicting the law, because the law is clear, and I broke it down for the judge. She has no private duty as long as she's in that uniform, as long as she's in that squad car. But I'm gonna tell you this, people, I'm gonna fight to the last breath of me. I'm gonna appeal this, and I'm gonna take it the high as I can, because that judge just violated and took away what little rights black folks have. I really wanted to snap in there, but I really did do it. But I'm knowing I'm gonna kill him with kindness in that paperwork, because I'm sick of these public officials doing what the hell they want to do.
Bobby, what do you think will be your first step after the judge give his ruling?
My first step is I'm going to file a motion to reconsideration using his own rules, his own laws. And if that don't work and he don't reconsider, what they didn't rule on me, against me, they ruled abandonment. Basically a TRO, but it is a temporary protected order, giving her 180 days, giving 180 days of me to stay away from her. And I explained to him, I don't understand that. How she's a police officer, then how can she get a protected order against me? I mean, if she come to a scene where I'm at, that means I got to leave. I can't go to the police department. He tries to break it down and say, well, it's just one of them. So what if I go to the police department and I look at her the wrong way and she say, feel threatened again? Here I am back in court.
Let me ask you another question. What drew my attention, and you might have already said it and I missed it, but I think you played your own case, number one, and number two, you highlighted that the original charge was what?
The original charge was harassing communication.
Okay. Well, how did the stalking get in? Somebody mentioned stalking. What is that?
Where the attorney opened arguments, which was Hatfield,
Okay.
Mark Hatfield.
Okay.
Mark Hatfield opening a statement where he wants to try to get a stalking charge.
Okay.
And the original charge was communicating and harassing. I don't know how did he get to stalking. And the judge admitted, no, it's not stalking. He basically admitted it wasn't no law. but he had to rule something.
Okay, you called them on that, but something else was interesting that me being a novice, and I've been around the courtroom a little bit, but I want you to explain to me, if you would, why did you give these, you mentioned several laws, I think 1611-39 or something like that. You also mentioned another, and then the judge brought up another. So why did you go through that routine?
Well, I went through to show them that basically nothing I did was wrong. The 1611-39.1 is the communicating harassment, the original charge that they was trying to get me. So I broke it down to him that requires some kind of direct contact. We never had any direct contact. That requires a repeated posting, a repeated threats of her.
And you read that directly from the paper. It seemed like to me he didn't want you to read that. He was saying he didn't want you to read, but you read the entire thing.
Yep.
And thank God for that, because some of us sitting in the audience did not know that. And you specifically clarified what that meant. And personally, I, being a novice at this, don't want to put my input into it, but I really question the judge. I do feel that, and I have seen this in other cases in Valdosta, Lowndes County, that these attorneys and magistrate people, along with the Attorney General and judges in Atlanta, are possibly all, no, I ain't gonna say possibly, I got white people telling me the same thing. A lot of these people talk to these people at the country club, and not too many blacks are there. And so there's a possibility, because I'm looking at this, I thought the judges, when you presented the way and the manner in which you did, I really thought they were going to do what was right, and he did compliment, didn't he compliment you? And how do you feel about the compliment where he said that he thanked God for the press who are the watchdog overseeing a government, but then he come back and do this? So how do you take his response?
Well, I thank him for the compliment, but I don't think it was sincere. I think it was a front, because if he meant what he said, then this would have went the other way. There would have been, he would just dismiss this. Even at the beginning of the case, the case was scheduled at 10 o'clock. She came at 10:12. Now that would have been me, a warrant would have been issued for my arrest. And I brought that to the judge's attention, and he said, well, I was a little bit late too. It ain't got nothing to do with it. She's supposed to be here.
And Bobby, I'm sorry, man. I served in the military and might have been around explosives. I need you to repeat that again.
Okay. Well, again, she was supposed to be here on time at 10 o'clock, not 10:12. We sitting there at 10:12, and then she come walking in the door. Then the lady knocked on the door for the judge to come out. But again, I mentioned this to the judge, and the judge just brought it away. Now, if that would have been me, and I would have showed up at 10:12, the police would put the handcuffs on me and took me on down there, because it clearly states on my paperwork, if you don't show up on time, or you don't show up, then a warrant could be issued for your arrest. So why wasn't this case dismissed? Now, if he would have been an honorable judge like he said he was, then I would have, and she was 10 minutes late, I would have walked up in and said, this case is dismissed.
But Judge, I mean, my brother, let me ask you another question. Did he say anything to her for being late?
Nothing. At all. Didn't say one word, just brushed me off. Well, I was a little bit late too. Well, we're not talking about you, we talking about her.
And you say you have that right, and do you have that with you at the house?
Which one?
Where you say it states that if you read that for us.
It says, you are hereby back to appear in Magistrate Court, 310 Albany Avenue, Waycross, Georgia, on such a date. Failure to appear, and if you have any further contact with the plaintiff after receiving notice, may result in the issuing of a warrant. Be in court 10 minutes early.
10 minutes early?
10 minutes early, not 10 minutes late.
And again, you say if it had been you, you think it would have went a different way.
And you can have it.
Okay, thank you. I'll put this in.
Actually, didn't I send you all that?
You might have. I read a lot of it.
Yeah, it was in that Facebook post.
I got you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But if you need anything, I can email to you. Okay. And you can take this. Here go all the Supreme Court rulings. Okay. And here go the law.
Okay.
What they was trying to get me with first. They'll give you the Supreme Court ruling?
Well, I know it all. I educate myself and made post with this video.
Yeah. And even I want to say what they said when I explained to the judge when she was on the stand, and I asked her, how did I didn't even mention your name in the post. So how did you feel threatened? I took the picture from her from the back. I'm gonna give you a copy of that. Yeah, the whole post.
Okay. Oh, that'll help. Definitely that. What encouraged you to record her in the first place, short form?
Short form, I'm an activist, and that's my job to make sure public officials are doing what they're supposed to do. Because if we don't have nobody to hold them accountability for them, then we are just going to be lost. And I'm going to make it short. I don't care what the judge say. I don't care what his orders say. If I see her doing something wrong, she's going to be recorded again.
Okay, now, Bob, I got to say this because I know that you have got a lot of police officers. You've recorded so many. I saw you one day down there in Homerville at a truck stop. And what was that all about that day?
Well, that was at a truck stop where the public, again, a police officer has no duty on private property. They don't have authority, and basically it was a DOT officer stopping a truck on their truck stop. This is a private property. You don't have authority as a police officer to write tickets or even do anything on private property. It's just like if you go up to the local Walmart or the gas station, fast food, and get in a car accident, all the police can do is give a change of information. They can't find nobody's fault because they don't have the jurisdiction.
Do you think we're moving closer to a police state?
Yes, we're already there. It's just getting worse.
And what's your name again?
Bobby Worthy.
What organization?
National President for the Justice League United, Southeastern Minister of Law and Justice for the New Black Panther Party.
Peace be unto you, and thank you for calling me about it. We report what others ignore. Once again, the Ghetto Free Press out of Valdosta, Georgia. And just remember, it's not the size of the ship that makes a man seasick, but it's the motion of the ocean. This brother has caused a motion over here in the ocean away across, and we hope a lot of other people will stand up and do the same thing, because if we don't, America's going down the path of ain't strong. Bye-bye, we're gone.
Okay. I am Will Ash. I'm an attorney and part-time magistrate judge out of Camden County. I've been asked by the Ware County Magistrate Court to hear this case. And I'm going to go ahead and sound the case of FURRINDA Durham versus Robert Stoney Worthy. And you are Miss Durham, represented by counsel, Mr. Hatfield. And you are Mr. Worthy, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you all for being here. And from what I understand, this is a good behavior communication harassment. I call it an application for warrant hearing. Is that my understanding, Mr.
Yes,
Hatfield? Okay, sounds good. And Mr. Worthy, you are, I don't see an attorney with you. You're representing yourself
sir.
at this time?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right. All right, just so you'll know, without an attorney, you're certainly capable of representing yourself as a pro se litigant, but you're held to the same standard as an attorney. So if there's any objections that you wish to make during the presentation of the evidence, I'd like for those objections to be based on legal grounds. Okay? All right, then. Does anybody have any witnesses in this matter?
Just my client.
Just client? Okay. Sir, do you have any witnesses?
No, sir. But I would like to. We'll go. I'll let you finish, and I'll.
Okay. Well, if you had any witnesses, I would probably invoke what's called the rule of sequestration, but without any witnesses, I think we can proceed. And this being an application for warrant, if this court finds probable cause to issue a warrant based upon any type of criminal violations, then I will do so at the end of the case, and if that is the situation, if there is probable cause, and probable cause, Mr. Worthy, for your edification, it's a very low standard of evidence. It's one of the lowest standards in criminal law. If the court finds there's sufficient probable cause to issue a warrant, I'll issue a warrant, you'll be arrested today, okay? So, just so you will know, you'll be warned. Okay, so, no witnesses. Counsel, any opening statements necessary, or?
Judge,
Go
we'll
ahead.
waive opening and just.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Yes, sir?
I would like to make a quick brief statement. I'd like to make a note of it, Your Honor.
Oh, wait just a second. I'll get to you on that. So, no
We'll waive
opening
any
remarks?
opening.
Okay.
Yes.
Any objection if he makes any type of opening remarks?
sir.
Okay. All right. Any motions that anybody needs as far as any pretrial matters?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Worthy. I'll hear.
What I would like to say, I would like just the court to make a note that if I would have been 12 minutes late, the court would have probably fined me a warrant for my arrest.
Well, okay. So your objection then, I think I was a little bit late getting here myself, but is that your comment?
Okay,
Was
well,
it the applicant is a little bit late getting here?
Okay, yes.
Okay. I have no problem. I don't find that anybody's in contempt for being late. So what I understand, Ms. Durham is a uniformed police officer. She went home to change her uniform. Okay. So that really kind of goes to your credit there. Okay. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay. Go ahead and call your first witness here.
Call FURRINDA Durham.
Come on up, Ms. Durham. Right over there. Used to have a clerk on this side and a witness over here. Okay, that's fine. Do you want to place her under? Okay.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, state your name, please.
FURRINDA Durham.
May proceed, Mr. Hatfield.
All right, Ms. Durham, how are you employed?
With the Red Cross Police Department as a police officer.
Okay. How long have you been employed in that manner?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. Are you a certified police officer in the state of Georgia?
I am.
All right. Now, direct your attention to March the 29th of this year. Did you have an occasion to, well, let me ask you, did you visit a Harvey's grocery store here in Waycross on that day?
I did.
Okay. Tell us about that.
After I clocked out from work, I went to the grocery store to pick up a couple of items, and then as I was getting ready to go to the counter, one of the young fellas tapped me and said, "This guy over here is taking your picture." And I was like, "Who?" And then he said, "Bobby Worthy." And I was like, "Well, I really don't know him. I just know of him." So he said, "Well, he took a picture of your patrol car too." So I said, "Well, it's okay." So I left out the store, and then about a couple of days later, I was told that I was on Facebook.
Okay. Did you look at anything that was on Facebook at that?
I did.
All right. I've got a few exhibits, Your Honor, that I'd like to be able to show to her, and if it's okay, I'll just hand mark those.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. So,
Has the defendant seen these?
no, sir. I'll show him at this time. All right, officer, I'll show you what's been marked, plans exhibits 1 and 2. Would you identify those for us?
Yes, that's me at the checkout counter, and this is my patrol car out front of the store.
Okay, those depict you on March the 29th of this year
Yes.
at the Harvey's grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now where did you get those pictures from?
Off of Facebook.
Okay, and where specifically on Facebook were they?
It was on Mr. Worthy page.
Okay, and how did you become aware that those were on there?
I was told by another officer.
Okay, all right, and then I will show you. Let me show Mr. Worthy these. Plans exhibits 3 and 4. If you would identify those for us.
Mm-hmm.
What are those items?
Talking about I was at the store on that above date shopping.
Okay, but were those some comments that Mr. Worthy had put on along with those pictures on Facebook?
Yes.
What were the comments that he made?
You have to bear with me. I don't have my glasses on. One of the comments was that any person broadcasting heavy political. I'm sorry, I can't see. I forgot my glasses.
I've got some. Would that help? Trust me, I've been there before. That any better?
Yes, sir.
Good.
It say any person broadcasting heavy political, revolutionary, or controversial or antagonist positions, and that person has no profile picture or any identification picture of themselves anywhere, that person will draw my investigative suspicion. Any person heavily attacking someone else, programming of action like they are an expert, yet when you look at their timeline and photos, they have done absolutely no organizing all their life. Then that per se will draw my investigative suspicions or be blocked from testifying because they are unqualified to speak and subject they are attempting to speak as an expert on this is one way.
I want to object to this.
What's your objection, sir?
The objection is the pictures he shows you is separate from the statement I put on Facebook. That's not the statement I put on Facebook.
I'm going to let you cover that in cross-examination, okay? Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
The other
What was
ones,
the other one?
they say, Ware Cross police officer shopping at the grocery store yesterday, March the 30th, 2017. Department SOP clearly states those vehicles are not supposed to be used for personal use. This is why so many police officers think they can do what they want when they want. If you violate one law and or procedure, then you will violate another law and or procedure. This would eventually lead to violation of major laws and or procedures.
Okay. That was plaintiff's exhibit. Which one was that?
This is going to be 3.
Okay, so that was 3 and 4 you read? Okay. And then, show you what's been marked plaintiff's exhibit 5, and that's a 2-page exhibit.
Okay.
Can you identify that for me? What is that?
This is a profile of myself and Mr. Worthy.
Okay, but did you obtain that? Is that something that you provided to me?
Yes.
Okay, and what is that exactly?
It's something that obviously is stated up under both pictures of me and him side by side, talking about we having court tomorrow and for people to join Mr. Worthy.
Okay. Was that something that he posted prior to our original court date in this matter?
Yes.
Which ended up being continued?
Yes.
Okay. And he made some statements under those photographs, is that true?
Yes.
What-
If he didn't, I guess some of the people that's friends with him made statements.
But there was 2 things that he posted up under those, wasn't it?
Yes.
What can you read those?
On
to me?
this one here, where it's up under the both pictures, it states, "Tomorrow join me as I am once again forced to defend myself against a Ware Cross police officer that is trying to have me arrested for simply taking her picture while in her uniform shopping in her police vehicle."
Okay. And what was the other one that he posted?
The other one states that that's all good, but their standards operating procedure clearly states that those vehicles are not to be used for professional use. And as long as she is in uniform and or in her patrol car, she has no private duty. Thus, I can video and or take pictures of her.
Okay. Then one other thing I wanted to show you here. What was he was making complaints about your use of your police vehicle
And in uniform.
and in uniform to go
Yes,
to
sir.
Harvey's?
Yes, sir.
I'll show you plans exhibit 6. What is that?
It's our POM policy, limitation on and off duty use of department vehicles.
And what does it provide as far as use of your vehicle?
It states,
The relevant part that we're
okay,
talking about.
it's a routine personal errands performed en route to or from work.
Okay. That you can use your vehicle
Yes.
for that?
Yes.
Is that what you were doing on March 29th?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Now, what is the reason that you are asking for a warrant application against Mr. Worthy here today?
I don't know Mr. Worthy like that. I just know of Mr. Worthy. And my concern was him following me in the store, taking pictures of me and of my patrol car.
Okay. And did you give him any consent to surveil you like
I
that?
did not.
Okay. Do you know of any legitimate reason he had to be following you and taking pictures of you?
No, I do not.
All right. Are you asking the court to consider issuing a warrant against him for stalking?
I am.
Okay. Do you feel like that someone who follows you like that is a potential threat to your personal safety?
Yes, and that's what I felt. The young man asked, he said, do you want me to walk you to your car? I said, no, I'm fine. It's not necessary. And he said, well, I'll walk you anyway.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell the judge about that?
I know.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Worthy, I'm going to let you cross-examine her, which means you can ask her questions relating to the scope of her testimony.
Judge, maybe, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but maybe I'll go ahead and tender
those
1 through
okay.
6, if that's okay.
Okay. Mr. Worthy, any objections to these documents being tendered to the court?
The ones you just showed me.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you which ones. I might have to borrow those glasses back.
Yes, sir.
Madam Witness. I usually bring several pair with me with my briefcase. Okay, what I have here, I've got P1, which is a photograph. I've got P2, another photograph outside a store, it looks like. I've got P3, which is a communication that may have been downloaded from a Facebook page. I've got P4, which is another communication.
Well, this one I want to object to. I
Want
don't
to
even
object
know
to
what
that?
that is.
I'm going to hold that for a second. I've got another one here, P5. It looks like a communication from a Facebook page. I've got a P6 here. My guess is I don't
No,
see
that's
all-
that's all
This
part
is
of
just a
one.
continuation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is cumulative exhibit there, and I've got a P6 here, which is looks to be some regulations. All right, code. So your only objection is to P4. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But you have no objections to Ps 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Is that correct? I'm going to go ahead and accept those documents into evidence. P4. Let's take a look at that. What is your objection to this document?
I don't know who that is. It's not me. I don't know who that
Okay,
is.
doesn't have to be you, but do you have any legal objection to the court reading this document or accepting this in evidence?
My only reason I ain't never seen it before. I don't know what
Okay.
it is. I mean, all I read was she read it. I mean, it looks like a computer generated letter. I mean, that could be anybody to print that out. There's no proof where it came from.
Well, the witnesses described it, and I don't hear a real legal basis for withholding this, so I'm going to go ahead and this is allowed tendered over objection. Okay. You may now cross-examine this witness.
Okay. All right. You are a Waycross police officer, right?
I am.
Okay. In the can I borrow the
Which one? Which one do you want to see? Have any exhibit that you want to see? That's the one you objected to. There's the other documents. You want to look at those?
Can I hold them for a minute?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to need them back, though.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Okay, this is. Hey, could you?
Tell her what that is. Which document
This
is
is P3.
it? Okay.
P3. In that statement, under my picture, under that's the statement that was under my the picture that I posted on Facebook, right?
Correct.
In that statement, is your name mentioned anywhere?
No, it's not.
It's not at all. Yeah, I think I'm through with these.
Okay. All these documents are been admitted into evidence, and they're back to the court.
I got, you do realize that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that even though you was off duty, as long as you wearing that uniform, you have no private duty. You do know that, right?
Why don't you give her a citation of the Supreme Court case that you referred to?
Okay, here is Your Honor.
You don't have to give it to me. Just tell her what case you're referring to.
Okay, it clearly
You're gonna
says,
quote Supreme Court. Give us a citation so we all know what you're talking about.
all right, it says U.S. Supreme Court, the Fifth Circuit, Rhode Island. They say, and I'll give you a copy here. And a copy for the court.
All right.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
And it's several citations, and basically they ruled that however the First Amendment.
Well, first of all, you've downloaded some information, and I do appreciate you coming to court equipped with some of the law, but there's a lot of cases that's discussed here, so I guess I'll need to know which case you refer to.
Okay, I'll pick.
And if you're going to refer to something that's just been downloaded off the internet, we typically would need the entire case. A lot of times these little blurbs that they have describing it off the internet may not be entirely accurate. So which case do you refer to? You got
I'm
First
referring to,
Circuit, Seventh Circuit, Ninth Circuit, and 11th Circuit.
The First Circuit.
First Circuit, okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the case.
Gilead versus Gunfire.
Uh,
I ain't got my glasses.
Well, tell me which one, just point to it. All right, that's Glick versus Cuniff, which is found at 655 Federal 3rd 78, 85 First Circuit, 2011. All right, so go ahead. What's your question?
It basically was saying that recording activities of police officers are public officials carrying out their duties in public places. A number of U.S. Supreme Court rulings and Court of Appeals have held that such circumstances, the First Amendment protects the right to record audio, video recordings on whether the police officials consent or not. The constitutional right would override any state or federal law that would override or prohibit such recordings.
All right. Is that your interpretation of that, Mr. Worthy? Is that when you're describing conduct which may represent their official duties? If she's in uniform and performing a task such as a traffic stop or something like that, the Supreme Court case that you've cited may cover that.
Okay.
What about when she's off duty?
Well, even if she's off duty,
In
Your Honor,
private.
because even if she's off duty, long as she has that uniform on,
Okay, that's
and in
your
that squad car, which taxpayers' dollars pays for,
Okay.
she still is a public official.
I got you. Go ahead and proceed with this cross-examination.
Okay. And in your statement, you said you feel threatened. You saw me that day.
I did when you was pointed out.
Okay. But and you said you felt threatened.
I did.
And you carry a gun in a badge. You had it on that day, right?
That doesn't mean I have to be threatened.
No. But you was threatened by me. Okay. All right. Another one. Now, Your Honor, I have two. I'm gonna hold one for the court, and I will give him one. I don't have but two. I thought I had three. And this was Magistrate Wallace in Brunswick, Georgia. Magistrate Wallace, the same similar case. He said that. Let me see. Magistrate Wallace Harrell stated in the same place where a pastor posted something on Facebook about a police officer, and the Magistrate Wallace clearly stated, it said there has been an effort to use the good behavior warrants by police officers to prevent critical speech on Facebook, Harrell said. Generally, good behavior warrants are used only in cases to prevent people from harming or harassing others by direct contact. Okay. And he said.
Okay. Was that upheld by the Superior Court or the Court of Appeals?
That was the Magistrate Court.
That's the Magistrate Court.
In Ware County.
Has there been?
in Brunswick.
That's in Brunswick, Glenn County. Has there been an appellate decision concerning that case?
No, not that I know of. I
Okay.
think it was dismissed at that point.
All right, for what it's worth, all right, go ahead and continue with your cross-examination. Rather than read her the law, why don't you ask her questions about the scope of her testimony?
All right. You said that I felt threatened, and your standard operation procedure that you read does says that your routine errands.
Yes.
Explain how would I know that you was off duty? You was in uniform.
That's why you shouldn't record. I'll take pictures because you don't know.
Okay.
Well,
Again, answer the question. How would I should know that you was on uniform?
Wasn't she shopping in a grocery store?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So again, how would I know you was on duty? You didn't answer the question.
I was shopping.
Again, how would I know you was off duty?
That's what I'm saying.
Was you, okay, put it this way. Was you in uniform?
Yes, I was.
Was you in your patrol car?
Yes, I was.
So as long as you in that patrol car in uniform, you are a police officer, right?
Yes, I am.
That's it. No further questions.
That's it? Okay. All right. Anything, any redirect?
No.
Okay. Witness may step down. Okay, and is the applicant rest? Y'all rest?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Worthy, now is your opportunity to tell me if you choose to testify, you can be sworn at this point, and you can you know, present any type of evidence that you'd like to do right now. Is that what you want to do?
Okay, yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Has he been sworn?
No, sir.
Okay, raise your right hand, face the clerk, face the bailiff, I mean.
You swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Okay, you're under oath. All right, go ahead and make out your defense, sir. Tell me,
Well, the definition of communicating harassment. It's a OCG 161139. Now he comes here today. He's wanting to change that. I think he believes you said you want a. for stalking.
I've heard stalking, which
Yeah,
is
he said stalking.
16590, which can be charged as misdemeanor or felony. But at this
Yeah.
point, I'm kind of looking at this case as 16590. So go ahead.
Well, what I was looking at is 1611.391, where
Okay.
it says harassing communications, which was replaced by phone harassments. This is what's on the paperwork, so I'm going by what's on the paperwork again.
Okay, that's fine.
So, and it says, a person commits the offense of harassing communication if such person contacts another person repeatedly via telephone, email, text message, or any other form of electronic communications for the purpose of harassing, molesting, threatening, or intimidating such person or family of such person. That does not, me taking pictures of her in a uniform does not fit that criteria. I haven't got direct contact with her. I didn't even use her name in the post. And as I read to you that the
Tell me, what was your purpose for taking those photographs?
well, I'm an
and posting them
activist,
online?
John. I'm an activist in the community, and I go around making sure public officials do what they're supposed to do. And so when I see a police official doing what they ain't supposed to do, then I put it, and I actually filed a complaint with her superiors, and that's how her using. I found out that she was shopping that day.
So your complaint is that she was shopping in uniform?
Yes, with taxpayer dollars paid for the uniform. So we got to understand, y'all, when we allow our public officials,
What should she have done, in your opinion? Gone home,
she shouldn't
changed
be.
clothes?
Okay, well, she shouldn't be in uniform in a squad car shopping. I understand the procedure says that, but it also says, the law also says, even though their standard operation procedure says that, the law also says when you convert taxpayer dollars into personal use, taxpayer dollars pays for the uniform. Taxpayer dollars pays for the equipment they use. So therefore, they have to answer to the public. They have no private duty when they're in them squad cars in those uniforms.
Okay. What else you want to tell me?
That's it.
That's it? All right. Cross-examination?
I have no questions.
No? Okay.
Just maybe a brief bit of argument.
Yes, sir. All right. Evidence is closed. Have you had no other witnesses, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified, you were not cross-examined. I, of course, asked you a couple questions. I think I understand your position as a defendant in this case. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is hear some closing remarks. Again, you don't have to give a closing argument. Nobody does. I can take this and submit it on the evidence. But I'd like some direction from counsel and you, Mr. Worthy, as to how y'all really see this case evolving. Because this might not be the last time we're in court on this case. Okay? So anyway, I'll hear from you, Mr. Hancock.
Well, Judge, the way that we're looking at it, and I've spoken with my client, we'd like the court, I think we would be satisfied if the court would enter an open abeyance order, hold this case for 180 days with no contact, not issue a warrant for Mr. Worthy at this time. I certainly understand his arguments as far as being able to videotape public officials. I think the distinction in this case is that she was not on duty at the time. She was actually acting as a private citizen, even though she was wearing a uniform. There are a lot of people that do wear uniforms, bailiffs, correctional officers, various people that might be wearing their uniform when they go about private functions. But she, as shown by the departmental regulations, that the police department allows employees on the way to work or on the way home from work, if they have a routine errand that they're running, and it's you know, that is not going to take them far off of their normal course of journey, to stop and be able to make some purchases like that at Harvey's. So there was nothing wrong with what she was doing in terms of her employment or use of taxpayer dollars. I certainly agree with Mr. Worthy that we want to make sure that public servants are held accountable for good use of taxpayer money, but I don't think Ms. Durham was doing anything that would have in any way been classified as improper or improper use of taxpayer money. Having said that, as I mentioned, we would be satisfied if the court would issue an open abeyance order in this case, just hold it for 180 days with no contact, and presume that there won't be any problem between these parties during that time. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Worthy, I hear from you. First of all, do you understand what the applicant has requested?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, again, Your Honor, I can't stress it more that even though she wasn't doing anything wrong, I was not, the intent to do any criminal act to her was not there. I was not in the process of harassing her. I was doing what I do as an activist, report the duties of public officials. And this is what our public officials don't understand. When you are let's put it this way. Let's just say if she went out and got an accident in that squad car while she was off duty, the city will still be liable because she's in that uniform. She's in that squad car. If she was in that uniform and she went and punched somebody in the face, and she was in that uniform, she would be responsible if she was off duty if she punched somebody in the face. And me as an activist, this is my job to report the duties of these people. I filed a complaint with her department on this as well. And they sent me the same thing, that they can routine errands. But it still does not change the fact, long as she got that uniform on, she's representing the city. Long as she's in that squad car, she's representing the city. And that's what we got to understand. And what he's saying now about the 180, that's still punishment, Your Honor. I mean, I did nothing wrong. I did what the law allows me to do, to video and audio tape any public officials when they have their uniform on and in that squad car. So now for him to ask for even 180 days, to me still being punished, okay, well, how would that work? I'm riding down the street doing 180 miles an hour. She stopped me. No contact. How would that work? She's a public official. If I go to the police department, I run into her. No contact. How would that affect me? I'll rest you.
Thank you, sir.
Judge, if I may just briefly. But I think Mr. Worthy's position is that because someone has a status of a police officer and they have a uniform on at any time, that they're subject to anything that he wants to dole out. That's not the law.
That's my concern as well.
That's not the law. And so, having said that, you know, I think that the court could fashion an order. We're not asking, and I disagree with Mr. Worthy that it's punishment. To do an open abeyance order would simply be no contact order for 180 days to make sure that there's not any problems that arise out of this between these parties or that continue. But Mr. Worthy, you know, I don't think that he seems to understand or realize the distinction between someone acting in a public capacity and acting in a private capacity.
Right.
Can I read? Can I?
If you may feel the
Yeah.
need to respond, go ahead.
Well,
Make it brief.
I think counsel not understanding the law, because I read in depth, in detailed depth, and it's actually cases all over the case. The Mike Brown case, even in these different cases across police brutality across the world, it clearly states that they have no private duty. If you look it up, I understand they're off duty, but as long as they are operating what taxpayers' money pay for, then the council is wrong on that. Now I can't just harass them and go to their house and stuff like that. But when they're out in the public, In that squad car, in the uniform, they ain't got no private duty.
Well, I think you're having some difficulty with the distinction between her public acts and her private life. And that's where I have the issue. And I think you got to draw that distinction, Mr. Worthy. I mean, first of all, let me just, congratulate you on your activism. I think that's a healthy thing in our society, especially these days. I think we need government watchdogs. I might be in the minority in that viewpoint, but I kind of appreciate that based upon our current political climate. I think we need government watchdogs. However, I think what we got to do is understand this may be Officer Durham to us, but when she's off duty, you know, her kids know her as mom, you know, her husband, boyfriend, whatever knows her as FURRINDA. She has a right to have a private life, and that private life cannot be affected in ways that might involve criminality. Now, you can have a seat if you like. I'm going to get to you again, but right now it's kind of my turn to talk. All right, so what I see in this, and I try to draw some distinctions myself between the conduct that I see that's happened on the outside of the courtroom and the arguments of law and such, and based upon the factual evidence that I see. First of all, I think counsel has made a very interesting observation as far as how to dispose of this case in a way that's not too problematic for everybody, including you. But under 16590, I would have trouble myself finding that this rises to the level of stalking based upon what I've always interpreted that statute to mean is repeated patterns of behavior and so forth. I'm only seeing this one time, the evidence that was taken. Then I see basically that evidence is reproduced on the Facebook account, which may or may not rise to that level, but I'm kind of finding it does not rise to the level of stalking. And that was the charge that I was most concerned about. I've heard your electronic eavesdropping arguments and such, and certainly that you wouldn't want to be charged with any one of those, but I appreciate you bringing that to the court's attention earlier. I looked at it as a possible 16590 stalking case. But again, I don't see the evidence rises to that level. I don't see really the intent to annoy and harass, which is a mandated element of that charge. So I'm going to find that there is no evidence that rises to that criminal standpoint at this time. However, I mean, given that you are passionate about watching over governmental entities and things of that nature, and given whatever I order, whatever any judge orders, I don't think you're going to stop. I mean, it's in your blood, Mr. Worthy. You're an activist. You feel an obligation to do this kind of thing. However, she has a right to live privately as a citizen, undisturbed by conduct such as yours. Okay, so I am going to adopt the recommendation of Mr. Hatfield. I'm going to issue a good behavior order, and we'll call this an open abeyance for 180 days. Now, what that means, it means that upon a repeated violation of this, Mr. Worthy, this court, if it's brought back to the attention of the court, I would have additional hearing on this matter or possibly issue a warrant for your arrest. So I want you to leave her alone. She's got a right to enjoy life as a private citizen, freely, undisturbed by acts such as this. Okay? If it happens again, it's going to be a different outcome. But I will adopt that recommendation, Mr. Hatfield. I think that's a very reasonable disposition of this case. And nobody goes to jail today. That's always a good outcome, right? Okay, question?
Yeah, I just want to make before you close
Well,
it out.
I don't want to hear further argument. The time for that is over and done with, but if you have a question about this ruling, I'll entertain
Okay.
that.
Well, again, she's a police officer. I'm riding down the road. She stopped me. How does that work?
Well,
I mean, do I get punished or she get punished?
You know, here's the thing. This is what I have to tell people. I'm a civil practitioner, and I do a lot of what's called TPOs, good behavior bonds, on the criminal side. TPO is basically a temporary protective order issued by a Superior Court judge. Tells one party, or sometimes both the parties, to stay away from each other. Now, at any given time, the greatest concentration of Camden County is not really at the naval base, it's at Walmart. If there's anybody that you're supposed to stay away from, chances are next time you go to Walmart, that's where you're going to see that person. Okay? What I have to tell people all the time is if you see her, you see him, you turn around and go the other direction. Okay? Therefore, there's no incidental contact. Now, you brought up an interesting topic. What if she pulls you over? And you certainly cannot help that because you got pulled over. that conduct by hers, she's acting in the official scope of her duties. She pulled you over because you ran a red light or something like that. You're going to have contact with that officer. We'll just have to hope that those kind of things just don't happen.
Okay.
But you can throw out 100 what ifs, Mr. Worthy, and if you can find a violation, you're probably going to find that with little help from the court. So I would urge you and order you not to go out looking for violations involving this officer. Okay? Stay away from her completely. That is directly and indirectly. Don't Facebook about her. Okay? That's going to be a part of the order as well. If there's something that you observe as a citizen that's interested in governmental issues, then certainly, I mean, you have a freedom of speech, you have freedom of press, you have First Amendment rights that apply to you. So certainly you can speak about them, you can write about them. But what I'm telling you, she's acting in the, I find that she was acting in the official, well, she was acting as a private citizen when she went shopping at Harvey's. So that is fully accepted based on the R&O of the Sheriff's Office and regular procedures and also good common sense. So leave her alone. It's going to be an order that I'm going to issue, 180 days. We'll hold it in abeyance. At the end of the 180 days, if there's no further violations, case will stand dismissed. If there's further contact, then the case will not be dismissed, and we'll have further hearing on it. Okay? That'll be my order. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fairfield.
When will that order be ready, John?
Can I get
Right about now.
to mail that to you?
Let's see. I think there was one in the file. This was not tendered, sir. Did you wish to have these back?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, Judge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Bobby Worthy, we just got out of the courtroom and we came down here to Huddle House. We're going to go back in front of the, let's go back in front of the courtroom and we'll do a little recording. But before we go back, could you explain to the people if you notified the local news media about this case and were they there?
Yes, I notified all, as I did you, I sent a press release about this major event. It was not an attack. It was not my court date. It was a case to defend our right to First Amendment right to the Constitution. I notified Jacksonville News, Action Jacksonville News, all three news medias in Jacksonville. I notified all the black newspapers in Jacksonville, the Florida Times Union, the Georgia Times Union, the Wake Coast Journal Herald, CNN, and the other one, Fox News, and numerous other media, local medias that should have been there. But I actually talked to Action News 4, Jack's reporter. They let me know they had got it. I assumed they was coming because this was an attack on not my right, on our rights, not just mine, but our rights to the First Amendment.
So, this particular case didn't just deal with you, it dealt with directly the Constitution of the United States, right?
Yes.
Thank you.